Bahum Chamandara Grahe Parivartanena Ninikta Bahu Balayan Adilokapalan Sanchintayed Shashataram Asaya Teja Shankam Chatatkara Suro Ruha Rajahamsa Bahum Shamandara Grahe Parivartanena Nirnikta Bahu Valayan Adilokapalan Sanchintayed Dashataram Asaya. Ooh. Asaya Teja. So Sanchintayed Dashataram Asaya Teja. Shankam Chatatkara Sarora Rajahamsa. The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's forearms, which are the source of all powers of the demigods who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments which were burnished by Mount Mandara as it revolved. He should also duly contemplate the Lord Discus, the Sudarshan Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus palm. Purport. All departments of law and order emanate from the arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The law and order of the universe is directed by different demigods, and it is here said to emanate from the Lord's arms. Mandara Hill is mentioned here because when the ocean was churned by the demons on one side and the demigods on the other side, Mandara Hill was taken as the churning rod. The Lord in his tortoise incarnation became the pivot for the churning rod, and thus his ornaments were polished by the turning of the Mandara Hill. In other words, the ornaments on the arms of the Lord are as brilliant as and lustrous as if they had been polished very recently. The wheel in the hand of the Lord, called the Sudarshan Chakra, has 1,000 spokes. The yogi is advised to meditate upon each of the spokes. Good luck. He should meditate upon each and every one of the component parts of the transcendental form of the Lord. Anyone sign up for becoming a yogi? Are we supposed to cover the next verse also? No, just this. Okay. Any questions? This process of meditation is suitable for a prior age, or this process of meditation is not suitable for the present age. Just this morning, listening to Srila Prabhupada lecturing at Kumbh Mela, 1971, on this section of the Ajamila story, and the particular verse he was speaking on, Canto 6, Chapter 2, verse something like 9 or 10, he was expressing from the Sanskrit the very special power of the holy name. Of course, that's the whole Ajamila story, is to illustrate that. It's narrated for that purpose, to illustrate the power of the holy name. And specifically even chanted even once. It's like, because it's in the verse, so he repeated it multiple times, even once. And then, a small qualification, that means offenseless chanting. Small qualification. But the chanting of the holy name is so powerful that it can accomplish anything and everything. Going back to the verse from yesterday, the mark of Srivatsa, or the mark of the Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, on the chest of the Supreme Lord. The mystic powers of the yogis come from her, or from their meditation upon, single-pointed meditation upon her, on the chest of the Lord. So the narration, Prabhupada was using the Ambarish Durvasa Muni description, and he repeatedly said Durvasa Muni had great powers, but the powers of Durvasa Muni were surpassed by the power of Ambarish Maharaj. And he, Ambarish Maharaj, was so qualified that he didn't have. Now, if Krishna wants, a devotee can be gifted with mystic powers, like Prahlad, for example. He can be gifted with mystic powers, but he is not interested in mystic powers. If mystic powers are appropriate for some situation, but Durvasa Muni was protected not by. Durvasa Muni was envious. Wait a minute. I'm this powerful yogi. I'm a Brahmin, and he's a Kshatriya, and he's more respected than me. Anyway, so the whole event, and he felt defeat of Maharaj Ambarish, because Maharaj Ambarish, not having mystic powers when Durvasa Muni's mystic powers were exhibited, his Durvasa Muni's mystic powers were defeated by bhakti. And because of the bhakti of Maharaj Ambarish, Sudarshan Chakra, standing by his side, went into action, etc., etc. So that's from yesterday's verse, but the emphasis in this process, the previous age process of dhyan, and here we're getting a clear picture of what does that mean. Prabhupada was saying, these people today that are doing meditation is foolish. It's useless. No, people, it's useful to some extent. For people, instead of being wild, they can be more peaceful. But useless as far as the attainment of the goal of the purpose. Now, same, one can go on chanting, or one can go on in other forms of bhakti and not achieve the goal. But at least the potency is there within the process to achieve the goal, or perfection, the perfectional stage. And whatever one may achieve by other processes, it can't enter into the arena, or into the realm of what bhakti can accomplish for the devotee. And all of that is to help us sadhakas, be a little more clear on what the purpose of our sadhana is. The purpose of our sadhana isn't, you can make some list of what it isn't. And what it is to help us come to that stage of perfection. And then, okay, great, what's the perfection? And then there can be different ideas of what the perfection is. And let's go back to this chapter of Kapila Dev's instruction to Devahuti. What's the purpose of the Satya Yuga process of meditation? What to speak of who's capable meditating on the 1,000 spokes? Each one, not all of them, but each one. Gosh. And then the yogi meditating upon the arms, which are the source of power for the demigods. But the yogi, is it possible the yogi can be distracted by power? Yes. And is it possible they can be staying fixed on the arms of the Supreme Lord, recognizing it's the power by which anyone up to the demigods, controllers of the universe, derive their power? Yes. So what's to protect one who has come to the material world because of a desire to be an enjoyer of one type or another type, and becoming a yogi and not becoming attracted by mystic powers or the controlling capacity of the demigods to control the universe? And they're way up there in the process of dhyan. But for us, his came in yesterday's discussion. For that stage of perfection, there's an additional requirement. What's the additional requirement? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So the yogi isn't going to come to the perfectional stage, even if they can meditate on each one of the 1,000 spokes of the Sudarshan chakra, etc., and all the other steps in the dhyan process. The perfectional stage is not just fix the mind in a meditational state, because the fullness of the Bhagavan feature it can be accessed only by bhakti. And what's the connection between dhyan and bhakti? Its association with the bhakta. And what does the bhakta do? It glorifies. And with that sound vibration, then one can hear that glorification, and one can transition from dhyan to bhakti. But even to do the dhyan, the modern meditation, certainly it has its popularity, and in our modern time, and there's a reason why there's some effect. People do because there are different reasons, but there's some effect. And the fact they like, because the swirling of the mind, at least temporarily, can subside. And that's, the relief. Prabhupada likens it to banging your head against a wall and it hurts and someone says, stop. Shanti. That's not the perfection. Or the goal. So there can be an intermediate goal. That's fine. It can help one become relieved, at least temporarily, relieved to some degree from the influences of passion and ignorance. So supposing somebody has an addiction problem, and they learn something about meditation, or a depression problem. I've shared this many times, but I don't mind. In university settings, overcoming negative emotions is people want to hear about it. When they get a list of topics to choose from, they like that one. Stress and depression, negative emotion, overcoming negative emotion. It's popular because they're undergoing it. So one of the descriptions I give is, I was speaking on this topic one time in a city in China, the city Kunming, and that Kunming is the headquarters of one of the major airlines in China, like American, United, Southwest, other big airlines in America. So theirs is China Eastern, and that's their headquarters in Kunming. So we're giving a yoga class on this topic, the topic of overcoming negative emotion, with a Chinese translator. And at the end, the person who was the organizer pulled me to the side and said, she was an executive in China Eastern Airlines. And just that morning, because this was an evening session, just that morning, one of their executives jumped from the 7-story window in their executive building and splattered on the sidewalk. And immediately the administration commanded, like it was a mandate, everyone must take a meditation seminar, because they know it has some effect of diminishing negative emotions, and the compelling force of negative emotions can be dangerous. Besides, you hurt oneself, and we can hurt other people, etc., etc. Mental health. So it has its effect, but it's not what the intention behind meditation and the yoga system is, or what person that takes a meditation course in China is going to learn to do what's described here. It's the Satya Yoga standard of meditation, and then to graduate from dhyan to bhakti. Of course, devotees can do this because bhakti is powerful and they're carrying bhakti, and they can have yoga class or meditation class and then elevate it to bhakti. And largely it's from the hearing and chanting, kirtan, and other methods of engaging people in hearing to elevate their affinity for this or that or the other. To say the same thing in a different way. When there's a preacher like Srila Prabhupada would bash something that's Vedic. Now, one of the things that Vedic is specific to the Ajamila story. Sinful reactions, to neutralize sinful reactions, there's procedures. There's prayaschitta procedures. And a brahmana can recommend, my dear brahmana, I've engaged in this sinful activity. What is the proper atonement for me from the scripture? So different charlatan people can do all kinds of things to such a person who comes to them. But a true Vedic person there's some yajna, atonement, sacrifice, propitiating this deva and that devi and so forth. And Prabhupada was saying, they're hearing it this morning, it's all bogus, because where's the qualified brahmana? And, for starters, the qualified brahmana is one who can ignite the fire by mantra, not matches. That's a pretty good qualifier. And where's the qualified brahmana? So it's useless. I mean, it's something on the one hand, because there's submission to something that's less than perfect. You can't show a priest that can't ignite a fire with mantra, but then a priest that can. That's the intention behind. So some Kapila Dev is teaching Sankhya. He's also here. It's Satya Yuga, so he's teaching Dhyan, and then he's going to go on and teach Bhakti, pure devotional service, with similar precision as all of this. Now, the Bhaktivedanta purport is giving us this 1,000 spokes of the Sudarshan chakra, and one is to meditate on each one of those spokes. I mean, it's mind-boggling. But those details and details and details, for example, it was asking the question in our evening classes here, how important is it for us to read Hari Bhakti Vilas? And there's details and details and details, and enough details to make your head spin, like close the book. It's too much for me. It's too much detail. Sorry. See you later. Too much. It's too much. But it's there. There's details and details. Supposing someone doesn't know that, most of us don't know much of the detail and detail and detail and detail. So principles like the principle of fasting on Ekadasi and breaking the fast on the Dwadasi, and there are time periods on the Dwadasi day, between this time, that time, one can break Ekadasi by taking grain. So that's a detail. And then there's a zillion other details that Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatana Goswami knew, but that wasn't the introduction. It's for those that want. Or here's another little example. One of Prabhupada's disciples, a very happy godbrother named Chataratma, he likes Shalagram Shila worship. And he has the names of all these different Shalagram Shilas, and you show him a new one, and he says, that's a such and such Shila, that's a such and such Shila, that's a such and such Shila. And he knows what he's talking about. He's not just pulling rabbits out of a hat. So there's details and details. Supposing you don't know all that detail? Is it okay for a duly initiated Brahmana to worship Shalagram Shila or Govardhan Shila? And supposing you don't know all the detail. So the essence is bhakti. It's not the detail. We don't ignore detail, the ones that are most important, so that we have a deity worship ministry that helps us understand the most important, etc., 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 etc. the Srimad Bhagavatam is vast, and there's a little section that's previous age process, but there it is, with some of the detail and purports further detail, and perhaps likely some further detail in commentaries of our acharyas, and one can get lost in the detail and forget the principle. One thing struck me, because in the 8th canto, this is Canto 3, not Canto 8 yet, it's just Canto 3, but there's mention in the purport of, and in the verse and in terms for elaboration in the purport of something that's from Canto 8, the churning of the milk ocean, and different items that are produced from the churning of the milk ocean. And that Mundra Hill, or Mundra Mountain, as the churning rod, and Kurma as the resting place of the pivot, and there's all this description in Canto 8. And ornaments are, many things are produced. Here's interesting that the ornaments of the Supreme Lord are polished by the churning of the Mundra Mountain. Wow. Put that in your presentation to the Chinese devotees. That's coming up. She's preparing it next. It's nice. It's a detail. The details have their place, and the essence is more important than the detail. Supposing one doesn't know the essence, but one has many details. So the force of the details is lost because one isn't clear on the essence. But if one is clear on the essence, then there's some significance to the detail. Like paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord, or something, his Sudarshan chakra, or the conch, or the items that are mentioned here that are in his hand, it's on his body, and so forth. That's tadiya. It's part of the meditation. It has spiritual effect or spiritual potency, like the form of the Lord himself, his ornaments, and the articles in his hand, and so forth. Bhakti is the essence. And then, by our process, hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, leading as the introductory parts of the 9 stages of Bhakti, one can go and go and go and go, but it's resting upon the process of sound and hearing the sound and vibrating the sound. And it's purifying. And that's our process, along with hearing about the process for the Satya Yuga. Difficult. Not possible for this age to do as is being described. Not possible. May make some. Is there anyone that can do all this? There may be someone that can do all this, but practically speaking, not possible. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. it is said in the purport, so not in the purport, I think it's translation, that the law and order is emanating from the arms of the Lord, and there are demigods who are directing the law and order of the universe. So when we see constant breakdown of law and order in this world, what does that really mean? There is an oversight for everything, right? But
Well, specifically your question, where's it come from, or what's the consequence?
No, we see constantly law and order breaking down in the present day world, right?
Yeah.
But there are demigods who are overseeing all these things.
Oh, but the law and order of this world isn't divine. It's already broken down before they violate it. It's broken down. It's not law and order. With the law and order is not law and order. It's manipulation. It's gratification of the senses of the ruling class. And then people point to the ruling class and say, you guys, we want a different ruling system. So the kings are gone. The kings don't have advisors of brahmanas, and nobody knows. It's Kali Yuga. It's a deterioration of the natural order. So why? Because it's Kali Yuga. And what's the indication? There's no law and order. It's rule of the mighty. Whoever has the military force.
So the law and order emanating from the Lord at the universal scale is something totally different from what the man-made law and order?
Yeah, man-made law is not law. It's gobbledygook. So the breakdown of gobbledygook is because it's Kali Yuga. From the beginning, it wasn't. There was no backbone. There's no substance. It's far from universal order. It's Kali Yuga. Poor demigods, they must throwing their hands up in the air. Look at these people. They should be punished because they're violating the universal order, and they're punished. People are punished by suffering in so many ways. So why is there so much suffering? Because there's so much disorder of the higher people. Just their ignorance is so abundant, they can't understand that they're in ignorance. It's Kali Yuga. And then go back again to Satya Yuga. The population is annihilated. Kalki comes and does his thing and start all over again. The influence of the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Someone?
Vinod Bihari Prabhu sent a question. Durvasa Muni is known as a great Muni.
Yep.
But he exhibited envy towards Ambarish Maharaj.
Yes.
Was he truly envious, or was he?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't cosmetic. He wasn't playing a role in script. He was envious.
If he was indeed envious, how did he attain perfection?
He didn't. He didn't attain perfection. He fell at the feet of Ambarish, and so he got the blessings of Ambarish. But what happened? So what happened at the end with the exchange with Ambarish? He's asking pardon. Ambarish said, "Pardon. If there's any merit that I've done, you take it all. So many austerities, it's yours." That's his austerities. It's not his bhakti. There's no guarantee that that Durvasa Muni is going to achieve or receive and accept that gift. That takes generally speaking, it takes cultivation. Like our discussion yesterday, it takes great humility, and he was on the opposite end of humility. He was envious, he was proud and envious. I'm a great yogi, and you took Charanamrita before me? I'm going to kill you. So, no humility. Now, did he become humble after 1 year being pursued by the Shuddhasat Chakra? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe momentarily, and then, he went back to being proud. Likely he went back to being proud. So, does that answer? Anyone else? Yes.
Guru Maharaj, it's very profound that the chanting of the holy name followed by the Shravanam is recommended in this age. So, how or what is the right mood to connect to holy name in such a way that the holy name leads to personal form?
I got about 10%. You got it? What's she asking? And
what is nature?
what does it take for the holy name to reveal its personal form? That's your question? It takes pure bhakti. What's the personal form? It depends upon the name. The form of Nrsingadev and the form of Ramachandra and the form of Krishna are different names, so there's different forms. But to reveal the form, it takes pure bhakti. And then the mercy of the personality of Godhead then reveals his form. I mean, because we just did it 2 days ago, Gopal Bhatta. Forms were revealed to him. But it didn't happen every day, but it happened because his pure bhakti. And the Lord was pleased by his pure bhakti, so he revealed his form. So it's the combination, pure bhakti and mercy. And even one is a pure devotee. It's not always, the fullness of the mercy is not always manifest. It's the combination of the two. All right?
I just want to ask, what should be the mood? How to cultivate that?
How to cultivate?
Yeah, that mood of
How to cultivate the mood. You know the answer. My how to answer. I don't think I have to say it again. You follow the bhakti process. And how do you get involved in the bhakti process? Associate with those that are following the bhakti process. In good association. Yes. It's on.
There are 4 types of people that become spiritual seekers.
Become spiritual teachers.
Seekers, the distressed.
Seekers.
Yes.
Become spiritual seekers.
And then we may use some of these bridge methods to reach out to them. You mentioned, for example, yoga or meditation
Yeah, okay.
NVC.
It's a nice meditation.
And these can become like narcotic, right? So numbing the pain or helping people deal with emotions or relationships.
Okay.
And beyond that, the inside story is there's a very arduous journey ahead to really achieve some sense of spiritual progress, right? There's the whole desert of anartha nivritti. There's the grief that comes from the awareness that even in meeting, there is the impending separation from spiritual personalities. All of these things are not the most pleasant. It takes a lot of grit and determination to stick with the process beyond just the narcotic effects of the yoga and the meditation. So it's not just sadhu sangha, because there's some people that, very few, that go all the way.
So, but sadhu sangha, in a qualitative sense, you don't have to add just sadhu sangha, because it means, that's the needle, and then there's the shaft of the needle, and there's the thread that's being pulled by the point in the shaft of the needle. But it's sadhu sangha in a qualitative way.
And it seems there's something internal that is a pivot, because not everybody takes up the opportunity of sadhu sangha when it's available. Some do and some don't.
Yeah.
And so
some do for a while and then turn away.
So when we say that even a little bit of spiritual progress will never be lost, and it's to the eternal credit of that soul.
That's Krishna's kindness.
Does that mean that, these kinds of people who are getting introduced to bhakti, but, they come for one retreat and then we never see them again, somehow they're going to start at that point in the future?
Yeah.
They're not going to there's going to be some credit coming from.
It's never lost. It's eternal. That's what the nature of eternal is. They may forget. Krishna doesn't forget. And how long might it take? It depends. But it's never lost. And anything material is lost, whatever it is. So that's the unique feature, one of the unique features of the process of connecting in devotion, connecting with the Supreme.
Yeah, and I think it's a really beautiful lesson for us in humility to be accepting of, we have a part to play in Krishna's plan, perhaps.
A big part. It's Kali Yuga. And things are rapidly going down and down and down and down. And so you can throw your hands up in despair and say, yikes, let me out of here. Go off to, like the scripture says, go off to the forest and, stay away because it's too crazy out here. But then we have a part to play. And then that part to play depends on the individual. What's their calling, or the gift that Krishna wants to give them, and they accept that gift and they develop it, and so there's different features of our part to play. But it's all part of the grand scheme.
When we went to South India, 2015, for the yatra, there were several temples that we visited where there was exclusively worshipping Sudarshan. And my thoughts were going to, we were gifted Sudarshan, and behind Sudarshan is Yoga Narasimha. And my question is, in our Gaudiya lineage, how do we view Sudarshan? Is he Shakti Tattva? What category of personality is he in relation to Krishna?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd have to, there's some options I'm thinking of, but, non-different than, or a vibhuti of, or there's different options. I'm not sure. There's always new topics to research. Because going back to the point of reference, because they're worshiping, at least the mood in which they're worshiping may be that the tadiya or the paraphernalia is non-different than, and therefore non-different than. So, Vishnu Tattva. But it could also be, the representative of, and not necessarily Vishnu Tattva. Like, say worshiping a guru. It's not the guru becomes Vishnu Tattva because I'm worshiping guru. It's still Jiva Tattva. It's a nice question. Anything else?
I have a quick question on this.
You have a question. You have an online question or your question?
My question was,
Your question.
so the stages that are mentioned here for the yogis, almost top stages like dharana, dhyana stages. It's very, even for me, it's very difficult to, remember the form of the deity. When I meditate on it, it's very difficult. In a moment we forget what kind of ornaments the deity is wearing. So it's very top stage. And then how is it different from the Shanta stage, right? Shanta in the Dasya, Shanta Rasa. So is these yogis reached that rasa with the Lord? Or
Do you want to know if the yogis have a rasa with the Lord? That's your
is it
question.
Shanta Rasa? Because it looks like these are very top stages. They are kind of, it's not an ordinary stage. Right? Are they not going to get perfected when they're meditating in this way of?
I'm not sure because Shanta is still it's a relationship, but it's a relationship where the mood or the rasa is neutrality. So is the topmost stage of one who's engaged in dhyan without the added feature of bhakti, is that qualify as Shanta rasa? That seems to be the question. Yes? It sounds right, but I can't think of any shastra that supports what sounds right. Sounds right. I think that's it. Srila Prabhupada ki.